our community needs change, and I want to be a part of that change. And I do believe that that change needs to include the legalization of marijuana. That's because there are too many underserved communities disproportionately impacted. There are too many people still serving time in prison, while other communities, other states, other counties have legalized marijuana and now are getting rich. I myself spent some time in prison, so I know the type of trajectory that a criminal offense can put on someone's life. And I do believe that it is important for us to fight just as hard to reunite some of our families in the border as we fight to reunite those at the border. As we know, because of Joe Biden's 94 crime bill, that there are several people in prison serving life sentences for marijuana. One case that I'd like to bring attention to is Michael Peltier. Michael is a paraplegic serving time in prison in Maine, a first offender. He has life without parole. He can't even walk. That state has legalized marijuana. These are some of the reasons that we need to not only reconsider our approach, but I believe that marijuana should be treated just like alcohol, and our federal, state, and local laws should be adjusted accordingly. There's no reason why someone driving for DUI that threatens the life of others should be given a ticket and put into a rehabilitation facility when someone that has the personal use of marijuana is given a felony charge and sent to prison. Legalization of marijuana. Georgia is one of the last remaining states, one of the few remaining states that has not done it. And today with me, I have some people that want to speak on the importance of legalizing marijuana and also some of the victim impact. I have Trevian Cutie, who is a lobbyist. I have Bruce Bass, who is a military veteran. I have Queen, who is the manager of For America Records. She's going to speak on behalf of someone that's currently incarcerated. And I have Shalana McFarland, who also is going to speak on victim impact. Trevi.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. As Angela stated, my name is Trevian Cutie. I am a medical cannabis lobbyist on all fronts, from decriminalization to cultivation to retail, wholesale, you name it. Some of the things that I find are the problems here within the state of Georgia is the lack of the fact of the movement speed of legislators to decriminalize wholly cannabis as it pertains to medical patients. Right now, we have a law here in the city of Atlanta where you can be caught with 1 ounce of cannabis and you will receive a $300 fine. Well, at the end of the day, that's still a criminal charge. That is still how people disproportionately affected by the war on drugs here in the city of Atlanta stay within the criminal justice system. So the route to Ms. Stanton-King's legalization plan would come first and foremost through pure and whole decriminalization. Secondary, we would have to legalize this as we have it today. There are 4 medical cannabis licenses currently on the table for cultivators to have in perpetuity. We would like to make sure that people of color who have been disproportionately affected by the war on drugs have a stake share in one of those licenses, one or more of those licenses. We would be willing to work across party lines, all bipartisan, because it will take that effort in which to do so. Social equity is a very important element that really needs to be discussed with legislators here that are moving very slowly as far as implementing those things. We have not implemented any laws as far as driving or road safety has been concerned here, but we do still have criminalized fines for those who are caught with it, even though we are saying that we have decriminalized it. So we would like to turn this over to people who have actually been affected by the war on drugs.
Amen.
Trevian Cutie. T-R-E, B like Victor, I-A-N as in Nancy, K.
So today you guys have not only been able to hear from me, but you've been able to hear from people in the community that also believe that it's important to take the necessary steps to decriminalize and legalize marijuana. We've heard from a military veteran. We've heard from someone that is actually tied up in the system right now. We've heard those stories from people that are fighting to get out of the system. This is what we're fighting for. This is the change that our community needs. And this is why Angela Stanton-King is standing before you today and running for Congress. So as we remember that today is our last day for early voting, let's make sure that we are doing what we need to do to see the change that we need to see. The definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. It's time for change. Change is here. I have the full support of not only the Republican Party, but the current administration. They stand behind me. We all want to do what's best for our community and for those that are currently incarcerated that deserve a second chance. So now we'll open up for questions from the press.
Ms. Stanton, being that you have the support of the White House, isn't it more easier that the president is in power now? He can make that happen. Is it easier to do it right now while he's in power?
I do believe that that is true, that it would be easier for him to do this while he's in power. That's another reason why I'm standing before the community today and calling for the legalization of it. So I'm hoping that everyone will listen to the testimonies that we heard today and understand the importance of why we need to take the necessary steps to make Georgia a part of other states that have already created this initiative and gone forward.
I want to ask, usually legalization of marijuana is considered a progressive issue that Democrats have championed more than Republicans. You mentioned that Georgia doesn't have a law, partially because Georgia's run by Republicans who have blocked some criminal justice changes. So the question for you is, why should the people in District 5 support you, a Republican, when this issue you're championing is considered an issue that Democrats have pushed for more than Republicans?
So what I like to say is that when it comes to criminal justice reform and the First Step Act and sentencing reductions, we know that was currently put in place by our current president, who is a Republican, and that criminal justice reform is a bipartisan issue. I've been a part of it. I fought to not only pass the First Step Act, but we're also working on the Second Step Act right now, and people should believe me because it is what it is. I'm a Republican and I'm standing before you all saying, hey, we need to go ahead and take the steps to make this change, to enforce this change. It's important for us to realize as a community that politics are supposed to be bipartisan. So we should have representation on every side, and we should have a seat at every table. So I do believe that I am that voice for those of us that, slightly lean Democrat. But like I said before, I'm running to represent the entire community, not just one particular group of people.
Today's the final day for, obviously, early voting. What is your message to the people who haven't made the decision right now? Who are they going to vote for?
Wow. We need to vote. We need to vote. I know we hear a lot of flack about voting don't count, but you know what it does. Go to the polls and we need to show our ID. We can't really depend on mail-in ballots. It's not really foolproof. We need to make sure that we're standing up and our voices are being counted. Never think that you're being ignored, because if you believe that you're being ignored, then you'll fall into silence. It's also important for us to, like I said before, understand that it's okay to be a black Republican. It's okay to stand by your morals and your values and your beliefs. That doesn't mean that you don't want what's best for the community. It's insane for us to think that every black person has to be Democrat. The Republican Party was established by Frederick Douglass Republicans that wanted to abolish slavery. So I'm here to tell you that the Frederick Douglass Republicans are back. So the Republican Party is turning a new leaf. It begins with me.
Final question. Yesterday it was announced, and it appeared on TMZ, obviously, Lil Wayne is supporting President Donald Trump. He's probably one of the biggest figures in hip-hop, besides Jay-Z. What did you think when you heard of his endorsement?
Not necessarily so much about the endorsement, but the fact that we are willing to work with this administration to push initiatives forward in regards to the black community. And I'm not really up here to discuss politics, but if we want to be real, we know that Joe Biden has been in office for a very long time, 47 years, as in his running mate, and I just don't think that black America has gotten the change that they're expecting or the change that they want to see. Again, I think it's time for us to try something different. I can't fight Lil Wayne for wanting to work with the person that is currently in power to do what needs to be done to push black America forward. If we are about, Black Lives Matter, as we say we are, then we sit down to the table and we work with anybody that's like-minded and want to help us push forward what's best for our community. So I applaud Lil Wayne and anybody else that's willing to step up and do what it takes to get the job done.